What's up guys, Sam Rebels Off-Road. I got an exciting new product for you from Class 1 Motorsports. Many of you might know, and if you haven't known, we went on a trip down to Tennessee with the Can-Am crew. Have the video that I'll post down in the description. But we had some breakage on the last day, and you can see some details of that on our last video at Tackett Creek. Also, we're doing some driveline upgrades, and you might have seen that video as well. This is the final piece of what we need to get back on the road. And Class 1 Motorsports sent this out to us. We had started to make a piece ourselves, but reached out to Daniel at Class 1 Motorsports. Always a pleasure to talk with him. And he said that he already had a fix for this. So we're gonna go ahead and open it up and get it installed. And I'm gonna show you how. If you follow the channel, you know that I have a lot of Class 1 Motorsports products on my KRX, and really impressed with the quality of all their parts. So when Daniel said that he had a gusset kit for my specific issue, I jumped at the chance to get one and show you guys all about it. So let's go ahead and open this up and we'll check out the products. Bubble wrap. Ooh, nice bag of hardware. Looks nice. Ooh, sweet. Okay, so this is the gusset kit, and it's a weld-on kit, so most of these parts will need to be welded on by a qualified welder. I'm passable at welding, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it, and you know, take it for what it is. I'm not a professional welder, but I get by. So now this is the part that I am super excited about. This part replaces the whole part around the firewall that holds on the steering rack. And so if you watched my video, you would know that one of these weld nuts broke loose on my steering rack. I actually have it sitting right here. So this failed at the sheet metal. You can see that weld nut just broke loose, and I'm gonna put some pictures of the brake on the side-by-side, probably right here, so you can see that. But it was a real big mess out at Tackett Creek. Had a bunch of miles to get back home, and had really loose steering because we only were able to get one bolt to secure it, so it was kind of pivoting back and forth, causing all kinds of sloppiness in the steering and issues on the way back home. So I was able to get it back into the shop, and yeah, I think this is gonna do really nicely. Yeah, check that out. Look at those welds, nice. And it's got the new weld nuts on there. Looks like they were nylock nuts, and that nylock material burned away when welding. It's no surprise there, but it's much thicker than the stock one. You can see it's doubled up on the material right in this area here, and then it has this area right here for the steering stem to come down through. It is chromoly 6031, and that material is a much stronger than the just mild steel that comes standard with the KRX. And so we're just gonna weld that whole piece in, and hopefully that will fix it. Now, let's see what else we got in here. Ah, yes. Class 1 Motorsports stickers. Always love it when manufacturers include stickers with their products. Definitely helps me out a bunch with you know, adding some horsepower, because you know that's what stickers do. Okay, so also have all these other gussets for the frame. Have to sort through these, but we got trailing arm gussets, we have upper shock mount gussets, and a bunch of other gussets here to weld onto the tabs to strengthen up the rest of the suspension and everything else like that. Oh yeah, check that out. Oh, I love these stickers. These are awesome. Thank you, Daniel, for hooking us up with these awesome stickers. Oh, and the latest Class 1 Motorsports t-shirt. We're gonna have to get this one on. Love the Class 1 Motorsports products, and thank you for the swag, Daniel. All right, so first up we're going to be installing this guy here, since that's what is the major problem right now with my rig. So let's go take this over to the machine and check out how we're gonna get this installed. I'm assuming we're gonna have to cut out some of the old sheet metal and weld this guy up in there. Let's go take a look. All right, okay, so let's make our way over to the broken machine. If you look up in here, you can see where the old nut was. It was right there, and then there's the two holes there and there for the lower support, and this new bracket is gonna fit right up in there like that. Yeah, sick. Of course, I forgot to mention I had to take apart the whole front end. If you don't know how to do that, it's a relatively straightforward process. You have to take off the wheel, disconnect the axles, pull those out. I went ahead and removed the shocks. Otherwise, you can throw them up out of the way and zip tie them or bungee cord them up there like I have the upper A-arm. Got to remove the steering rack, of course, and I also removed the diff to get access in here, and removing the axles and some of the other components around here. There is also a little plastic piece that goes there. I went ahead and removed that, all in prep for my driveline upgrades, but it just so happens that that gave us a nice clean area to get in here and do this upgrade as well. It looks like we're gonna have to cut some material out to get a good weld. It looks like there's a spot right in there we're gonna have to cut, as well as cut out where all of the nuts will be going through. I think what we're gonna do is just take this area out here, right there, to fit those nuts through the hole. I already have this hole here, so we don't have to mess with that. Also, gotta clean out all the areas where we're gonna have to weld. So basically along here, along up there, on the other side there, and just kind of get in everywhere that we're gonna be putting a weld bead, because we want it to be nice and clean before we weld this guy up in there, like that. All right, so let's get to grinding. So it's raining pretty hard, and so I apologize if the audio isn't any good. However, I wanted to show you, I'm gonna go ahead and cut along this line below this piece of metal here that comes at like a 90 degree to this piece, and cut all of this out. I'm gonna slit right along here, leaving this tab to weld to and to align the rest of the bracket. But basically, I'm gonna cut all of this out. I was originally just gonna remove the weld nuts, which I did. However, this bracket down here, it kind of goes up under the firewall there. This part right here actually replaces that, so we don't need it, and the angle on this one is different than the angle on the stock one. So we need to go ahead and remove the stock one out of the way, and actually that is going to be a lot easier than removing these weld nuts anyways. You're just going to slit right along there and then all the way across, and that will help to align and also for the welding operation later. So I've fit up the bracket. I had to bevel this edge here a little bit and grind out this tab a little bit, and then I used some sandpaper to get this metal all cleaned up, the paint off of it, all along that edge there. I got the paint off right there, all the way up along that edge there, and then the same for the other side over here. I put my ground clamp between there, and that's kind of holding it in place and also grounding out the workpiece. And so now all that's left to do is get some tacks up on there, and then we will weld it fully in place. So this repair should be stronger than ever. It is 4130 chromoly plating, so that is much stronger than the stock steel. It's just that Chinesium crap steel that these Kawasaki's, you know, have all over them. So we're excited about this fix because it will be better than ever. And so we're gonna go ahead and fire up the old Everlast generators MIG welder. Got Got the Cyclone 200 ES, brand new machine here, running C25. And gonna go ahead and get my hood out and get to welding. Alright, so just got done welding it up. Some bubblegum welds there, up there, over there, and on the other side as well as up in the corners there. I think it's gonna hold even though it's not pretty at all. I'm gonna hit it with some paint once it dries, and then hopefully that's all I need to do. All right, so we're gonna start installing the gusset kit. And so first of all, I wanna kind of show you where each of them go. These are for the upper A-arms, and so those are not gonna be welded. So we went ahead and coated them with this farm implement paint. It's just a gloss black. Gonna be doing both sides. These ones are for the lower A-arms. We're gonna see if we're gonna use these. Now we have the Super ATV frame stiffener, so I'm not sure if we're gonna be using those. However, these would be welded on those tabs on either side. There's I think 8 of them. So you can weld them on either side, and these are chromoly, so much stronger than the just standard mild steel, and also these are 1/8 of an inch thick, so that will really beef up those tabs there. Then these are for the trailing arms, and there are 4 of them, so inner and outer, and then these are for the upper shock mount tabs. Still gotta figure out what these ones are for. I think those are for either the front shock mounts behind or the back shock mounts behind. But then this piece right here is for the front shock mount. And that's the one we're gonna do first. It's gonna weld up right there. So the first step we're gonna do is clean all of this off down to the bare metal and down there as well, to get ready for welding. So I went ahead and removed this brake master cylinder reservoir. Got that and out of the way to make room for the flat disc. And you just want to make sure not to get into the plastics too much. All right, so we got that cleaned up pretty good. Just gonna make sure that all the areas we want to weld are all cleaned up. So I'm gonna take these bolts here and push them through. That's a really nice fit, very snug. You won't have to worry about these holes being welded out. These 12mm bolts fit right in there. Super, super duper snug. We want to get these all lined up though. Gonna go ahead and put that in there. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna clean up this top edge a little bit more. Probably just gonna put a couple tacks down here. But yeah, we want this all super cleaned up on that edge. So I'm gonna pull this back off and clean it up a little bit more. Okay. There we go. Now we got that nice clean edge there. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with the wire wheel along that edge there and right there and right there. Because I'm probably gonna put a little bead there, and then probably fully weld this top edge there. I'll say it again, I'm not a professional welder, but looks pretty good. I mean, definitely could have spent a little bit more time here, but that'll definitely hold, and I think it doesn't look too bad, so that's a win for me. Really, we're just trying to hold this plate in place so that the bolts can go through. The bolts will actually hold it all together once it is mounted with the shock. This whole welding and everything like that is just some extra reinforcement. So these tabs go behind the front shock mount. Gotta cut this little tab here and clean this up. I'm gonna show you how to weld it. It's a little tricky. Only gonna be able to get like one little bead on there. Probably just tack it a couple times and hold it up. This will help with the clamping force on there. It's not gonna be fully welded. go ahead and wire wheel the edge of these, and I'll show you where we need the sand on the mount to get these welded up. So if you look right in here, there's this edge right here. We're gonna clean that up because we're gonna probably be tacking a couple places like right there and right there to get this little gusset on behind the plate there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that by hand, and then we will tack that up. We wanna go ahead and put the hardware through the clamp, that little tab back there. You can see it back there. I'm gonna go ahead and at least finger tighten up this nut, because we're gonna put our clamp probably right on the head of this bolt, and then make a couple little tacks probably there and there. So as with everything, some fit up may be required. I ground this down a little bit on the top because the bend varies from machine to machine. Also, the stock welds vary from machine to machine. So if you have a weld-on kit like this, you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of fit up, and that is okay. That is actually expected for something like this. Things are not going to fit perfectly because, well, each machine is slightly different, especially when it comes to the welds. If we capture that nut with the weld, it's not a big deal because the new hardware has the same threads. So actually, it might be easier on you if you do weld that nut on that side to install the new hardware, because you can just use that same nut and you won't have to use a wrench, which honestly, I think that's kind of a feature. So we're gonna go ahead, tack this one up. If it catches that nut, so be it. We'll just leave that nut in there, no big deal. Otherwise, you can always just grind out that little section and pull the old nut out and use the new hardware. I wanted to show you down here, I have the Super ATV frame stiffener, which actually spans between these two brackets and reinforces it. It also comes in and ties it in with a plate that goes the other side. I'm not gonna take off these to put in the reinforcement. They would go there, 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 and there. I am, however, going to weld in one here. Super ATV kit comes with this little angle bracket, fits in like that, but you can always space it out more and beef it up even more. I don't think really it's needed necessarily here with the Super ATV kit. However, beefy is what we're going for, and so we'll go ahead and weld on those tabs onto this one here, as well as on the other side over there. But we're not gonna mess with these ones there. We're gonna go ahead and clean up those tabbed areas, and we will do those next. Put the bolt back in and tighten down the nut just to clamp this in place. I'm gonna go ahead and tack it up there and down here. Also, something to note that the welds on the factory tabs there can vary, so you might need to grind the inner portion of the new tab out a little bit. This portion right here will go up against the factory welds, so depending on the factory welds, you may need to fit this up. This is just basically a good starting point. And so I had to grind down this little corner a little bit, and I'll probably have to do the same thing for this one on the other side. So, got a couple little tacks there and there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bolt completely out of the way, and then that way we can get in and weld her up. So got it all welded up there, and I know these are not very pretty welds. They will hold, so I'm not too complaining about it. Actually, they're probably better than the factory welds in a lot of ways. That's just about what I got there. And on this side also, similar results, not the prettiest, but it'll hold. So I got these brackets all painted up, and now we're gonna go ahead and get them installed. The two ones that are shaped like this are for the forward, or for the front A-arms, the front upper A-arms. And then the back one is going to be the one that looks like this. And that one's gonna go on the front of the rear upper A-arm. And what I like about this one that a lot of people don't have on their front upper rear A-arm is that these are nice and radius. So I know some of the people's designs, they kind of just have a notch there, or you know, just kind of neck down there, that isn't gonna add any strength really. But these are nice and radius. I like this design much better. If you know a little bit about mechanical engineering, you know that if there is a cutout and there's not a smooth transition, that is called a stress riser, and it will actually break right there most of the time, if it's gonna break at least. So cutting out a bunch of material doesn't really do a lot unless you have that smooth transition, and also make sure it's uniform thickness throughout. And it's also chromoly, which a lot of the other manufacturers use just a mild steel. So this is much stronger. We're gonna go ahead and do the front ones first. And so they're just basically going to go in like that on either side and put on the new hardware that came with it, and we'll go ahead and get that installed. So we're gonna go ahead and use these longer bolts and hardware that it was provided in the kit. These are optional. You can also source your own hardware. Probably just easier to go ahead and add them to your kit and then install them now. I already went ahead and removed one of the upper A-arm bolts, and so now I'm just gonna go ahead. It's going to be a 19mm bolt and nut for this. Go ahead and put the other one in here as well. On the one side, go ahead and get this hardware started. So the next piece we're gonna be placing is this one, and it's gonna be going right up in here. We're gonna have to go ahead and remove these bolts on either side. And to do that is going to be, I believe, 17, if I remember correctly, on both the nut side and the bolt side. All right, so we got our upper A-arm reinforcement installed on the machine. We also have our lower A-arm tabs on the front part of it. The Super ATV frame stiffener are installed. Have the upper shock mount reinforcement tabs are installed and in the machine. Got the machine back together, weight on the front tire, and now we're gonna move to the rear. And in the rear, we have these guys, which are for the trailing arm, and they go right in there like that. And there's one for that front side, like I showed you, and then on the other side as well. And so that will reinforce both sides. And then we have our upper shock mount tab, which this guy is going to go right in here like this, and we're gonna fully weld it into place there to reinforce that shock mount bolt. And so to do that, we are going to have to pull off the shock. We're going to have to drop the trailing arm, which means that toe link we're gonna have to remove, and we're gonna have to slide back and drop down that whole suspension. So to save time in this video, we're not going to show all of that. We're going to be using similar techniques that we did for the front. You know, we're going to be clamping those brackets using the hardware and, you know, holding it in place for that. We're going to be cleaning up the welding area down to really shiny metal before welding it, and then we're going to be clamping and welding it. So I don't want to belabor this video by showing that. We're going on a ride next weekend, so we're going to hurry up and get ready for that. And so we're going to actually skip to after that ride for the review of these tabs. Have a big beat down and see how it holds up. And you know, my initial impression with how, you know, they hold up, the cost, if they're worth it, and who I would recommend these for. So we're gonna go ahead and skip ahead right now and get to that review. So we got back from our trip, had a complete beat down on the machine, hit a lot of really cool trails. You can check out that video. I'll post it probably sometime next week, but I'll put a link here when I post it. So after I got back, I inspected the machine and everything was super tight. Held up great. The steering brace held up great. The suspension gussets all held up great. Still looks really good. And yeah, so I think that this really beefed up my whole system, because before, my A-arms actually did have a little bit of slop to them. Even with that super ATV frame stiffener, there was just that little bit of movement, and you saw how with these new brackets, that took out all the slop out of it. And so that was really an improvement, and you know, I really feel more confident with these on there. It really beefed up my system. I'm not worried about ripping out frame tabs or anything like that now. I think this is a worthwhile upgrade, especially if you beat on your rig a lot. If you have big tires, you know, I'm running 35s. I would say anything over the stock tire, these could be helpful, especially if you ride hard. Now, as far as the price goes, these come in at about $110 with the hardware. And if you compare that to the other manufacturers, so the other ones on the market either don't come with it all, or you have to kind of piece it together, and it ends up being more expensive than this one. This kit comes with them all, and you can choose to use them or you can choose to not use them, but they're also much stronger than the other manufacturers because they're made out of chromoly. So it's better material. I think this is actually a pretty good value. Sure, you have to weld it, so if you have to pay someone to weld it in there for you, it may, you know, it probably will end up being more expensive, but I think this is the better kit overall once you factor in the stronger components, and because it comes with everything that you need. I want to say the steering rack stiffener is not included with this price. That is a product that Daniel does not have on his website yet, and so he's kind of figuring out maybe pricing or if he's actually going to offer it or not. If you are interested in it though, reach out to him and he'll help you out. That's my rundown on it. I'll provide the link down in the description where you can find this gusset kit and you can check it out for yourself. Also, Class 1 Motorsports has a bunch of other great products that you want to check out. I have videos for most of them on my channel, and you can check those out as well to see reviews and installations of those products. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more great content, I'd really appreciate it. It does a lot for the channel and helps it grow, and we will see you next time.
'Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning.